Hello, welcome back to my daily Transcontinental Race updates. We're now on day 9, so let's get over to the tracker and have a little look to see what's going on. And at the moment, it looks like we've got a bit of a runaway, I wouldn't say winner, it's a bit too soon, leader. Victor Bozzoni, he's got a clear gap over Martin. Reading a bit of Martin's social media, I think he probably dug a little bit deeper than he wanted to, chasing that ferry. And had a few problems with his punches we saw yesterday on the social media, and I think maybe his head's gone down a little bit. He was saying that he's having had a bit of a recovery day, so he's lost that time. Victor seems very motivated, but I mean he would be is ready for the win really. So yeah, Victor's got a pretty big gap, almost I'd say 100 miles or so. However, as I keep on saying, it is a transcontinental race. Anything can happen. But at the moment, he looks like he's gone through Serbia. So we'll have a little talk about routes in a minute because there's potentially a couple of options, I think. But it looks like he's gone through, since the ferry, crossed Albania, through North Macedonia, cutting through Serbia, and I suspect he's going to cut into Romania and then potentially back down into Bulgaria. Again, like I said, we'll look at a couple of route options in a second, now that that's relevant. A little bit further back, so our second chase pack, I did wonder whether they might start closing the gap, but it looks like Martin's gained a bit more momentum today, and that gap looks fairly solid. And there was a bit of, I wouldn't say drama, that would be a bit over the top, but I talked about this parkour and the off-road section, the potential off-road section, and it looks like there's 5 riders, all of them apart from Christoph Strasser went direct over. They're the first riders to take that off-road option. So you can see here when we turn Christoph's track on, he went up, back down again and around, and that was, I'd say, fairly predictable given Christoph's kind of dislike of off-road riding. I think that's fair to say, and you can see the difference here, and it looks like it was worth around an hour or so. So actually Christoph lost a bit of ground there. He seems to be starting to catch up a little bit. Not quite sure where Nicolas Chatelet is going. Looks like he's decided to go a little bit further north. I suspect that means that he'll be looping. Will he go through Kosovo? I mean, it'd be a major mistake if he does go through Kosovo. So we'll see how that develops. So basically, the rules, I guess, or the situation with Kosovo is if you cross into Kosovo and then try and cross into Serbia, you can cross basically the Kosovo-Serbia border without any border checks. However, if you then try and exit Serbia, they don't. Basically, there's a long running, I guess, political feud. There's been wars about it. Serbia claims Kosovo as its own. Kosovo claims itself as its own country. I'm not quite clear on the full politics, so I won't go fully into it. But essentially, that border's not recognised, so the Serbians won't let you out unless you've got a Serbian stamp-in passport, which you won't receive on that border. So if Nicholas decides to cross through Kosovo, he could find himself in a bit of trouble. The other option would be to go in and out, avoiding the Kosovo border, but it doesn't make much sense. So as you can see, most riders so far, and I'll just highlight Victor's route as well, because it seems to be the one that's kind of most popular, is to head into Macedonia through Skopje, and then north into Serbia. And it looks like everyone apart from Nico is going to do that at the moment. So yeah, but I'll go a bit more into the route in a second. Before I get onto that, you know by now, the POC are sponsoring us. I've been using their stuff for a while. Love their helmets, the glasses, the gloves. They do really great stuff. They support the race. They support projects like Team Omani, trying to do some good in the world as well. So yeah, they've given us a 20% discount code. You can get that by seeing the link up on the screen now or looking down in the description if you're listening on the podcast or indeed on YouTube. So yeah, thanks POC for your great work, great products, and for the support for the last over a week now, 9 days. Right, that's that section done. The race is now pretty much split, I guess, in two, with two leaders, I guess, with the women's race, and that's going to be really exciting. So basically our 3 leading women are now waiting in Bari for the ferry. So as we speak, it'll be 9 p.m. local time. That ferry goes just before midnight. So Cynthia Carson, Jana Kessenheimer and Leah Wilcox are all in Bari waiting for the ferry, and it looks like there's another 4 or 5 riders, including Justin Slovaka. We saw him earlier in the race near the front. He's slowed down. His dot is showing just outside Bari at the moment, but he is there. I think he's just got a bit of a tracking issue, as we'll find out in a second when we start looking at the tracking. There's maybe 2 or 3 other riders who may get there, but again, it's tight. The ferry game is not so much of an issue now. So tomorrow there's 2 ferries, so 1 p.m. and then the usual kind of midnight or so, give or take a few minutes slot. And it looks like that's going to be consistent now until Sunday. So for the next, what day is it today? Tuesday. So the next 5 days or so, it should be 2 ferries a day, which eases that pressure a little bit on the mid-pack. But then those riders further back, that is going to start causing an issue on sort of Sunday into Monday. That's basically, we discussed this earlier on the Ultrascape podcast, which I run with my co-host Becky Waters. And she pointed out that a lot of those riders who are aiming for the cut-off for the checkpoint basically have to get the Sunday night ferry. Otherwise, they won't be sort of able to complete the classification because the checkpoint shuts, I think it's Monday. So if you want to listen to that podcast, I'll put the link up on screen now. We discuss not only the Transcontinental Race, we do a preview on the upcoming Silk Road Mountain Race, and we try and round up the news from the world of bikepacking and ultracycling every episode. So if you've not heard it before, check that out. Consider subscribing. It's available on podcast applications as well as on YouTube. Check that out for a bit more sort of in-depth discussion. That's pretty much where the race is sitting at the moment. So tomorrow is going to be pretty exciting when the 3 lead women, basically the podium, they're fighting for the podium spots now. As I've already discussed, Lael kind of dropped off the pace, and I'm kind of speculating that she may have taken a bit of a gamble on the Tuesday night ferry, gambling that anyone ahead of her wouldn't get on the Monday night ferry. It seems to have paid off. Has she saved some energy? Is she fresher than the others? Time will tell. And also she's riding that gravel bike, so on this parkour section, after the parkour section up to the control point, she could have a little bit of an advantage. Jana, I know Jana's she's not super experienced off-road, but she's ridden a couple of events I've ridden, like the Japanese Odyssey, where there was some fairly chunky gravel in it, so she won't be too inexperienced. Cynthia's won some big gravel races, Badlands and Unbound XL, but she has been experiencing these tyres. It sounded like as well, I read a report on the Transcontinental Race Instagram that she'd had to replace the tyre that she'd already replaced in Turin. So yeah, she wants to, the riders want to be making sure their bikes are in tip-top shape before they do that crossing, because once you get to the Balkans, you're going to struggle to find a bike shop. You might find one in Skopje, and that's pretty much it. Well, pretty much it. I don't think they'll find anything else. Maybe if they went to Sofia in Bulgaria, but that's probably a bit of a detour. It's queuing up to be a pretty epic race. And the final sort of few days once the lead women get across the Adriatic. So let's have a bit of a discussion or a look at the route now. So if I zoom out, we're on Riber GPS here. You can see this is the checkpoint here near Tirana, and the riders then have to basically cross the Balkans, and I think there's a couple of options that they may be able to take here. So I think the key thing that's going to kind of inform the riders on the route choices is going to be the terrain. So this is the Finnish parkour in towards Constanta. You can see obviously it's a fairly long one, just under 150k, 1,000 meters of climbing. But you can see that it's basically starts on the Danube. The Danube obviously running down the border here of Bulgaria and Romania. So I suspect most riders are going to want to try and get up to the Danube and trace it, and do so in in the flattest way in a mountainous region. You can just see from the terrain here, North Macedonia is particularly mountainous, and you know, the Albania is mountainous. You've got to skirt around Kosovo for the reasons I just explained. So it's going to be a case of cutting through Bulgaria, or potentially it looks like the front runners so far are going north first through Serbia, and I suspect they'll be cutting across, maybe cutting across Bulgaria or going up to is it Negotin and crossing there and basically picking up the Danube and then taking a flatter route. The complication though for the route planning is, as you can see, well, referring back to the road resource map from the TCR, there's a lot of red band roads. There's a lot of band roads in Macedonia, especially around Skopje. I remember when I was trying to plan my route for my failed last year's attempt, it's a bit of a nightmare to try and navigate around Skopje, just because, you know, the nature of the area is that there's not that much space for roads. There's hills and there's valleys, and all the traffic gets forced into the valleys, therefore making the roads pretty busy, and the roads aren't necessarily developed enough for the amount of traffic that's kind of developed or, you know, is created over the years. So yeah, it's pretty tricky. So I suspect that the reason most riders will be going north through Serbia is because to avoid the banned roads, and the reason I suspect they will be going through Romania is, again, banned roads. You can see there's just all the main obvious roads here are quite banned, and when you kind of zoom in, the roads in the north, let's do this on rubber GPS just to be a bit clearer. The roads north of Danube in Romania, they seem to run a bit more parallel, whereas down here in Bulgaria, they're a bit more kind of all over the place. They don't necessarily run parallel to the Danube the whole way. They're kind of in and out, probably making it a slightly longer journey. So yeah, I suspect we're going to see riders do that, but then the riders do have to cross the Danube, potentially, well, they do have to cross the Danube to pick up this parkour if they're going through Romania. And as you can see, there's a ferry here, and I've got a few question marks over this ferry. We saw a lot of drama a few years back. We discussed this on the podcast as well with the Danube ferries. I suspect this could be quite intermittent. From what I've heard and the research I've done, it's kind of like a lot of trucks take it, and it's a case of they run it when it's full rather than at a regular schedule. So that could catch a few people out. I mean, Victor's got a big gap at the moment, so it may not be so much an issue for him if he decides to take that route. But when it's busier and more congested further down, that could become an issue. There are also a couple of bridges. So there's this one at Rusey. If we look on the map here, there's the roads from the south are banned, but it does say you can use this little section here, so that kind of suggests that you might be able to cross that bridge, but I don't know for sure. So again, it could be a bit of a risk. So yeah, I mean, are the riders going to ride in the north, cross that road bridge, which we have a question mark about, or stay north and catch the ferry, which again there's a question mark about before that final parkour? So like I said, it's not over till it's over. It's not clear cut, and I guess we'll find out, and the only way to find out is to keep on watching. So I'm sure if you're watching this, then you probably will be doing so. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking at the moment, and yeah, we'll have to see how it develops over the next couple of days. And I just thought I'd finish with just a couple of stories, a bit of social media, just to round the day out. And we've not heard much from Justin Slovakia. Normally he's very entertaining on social media. I kind of clocked that, you know, the lack of updates meant that something might be a little bit wrong. Obviously, he lost a bit of time. I think probably got a bit demotivated. But yeah, he's back. This is Justinus, and this is what he's got to say for himself.
Ciao, Bella. So, made it to Bari. One day late, but been worse. Having a feast. I've been told that mozzarella here is good, the focaccia here is good, so bought all of that and plus. So I'm stuffed now, and there's still like 3-4 hours until the ferry. Might go for a pasta to ride pasta in Albania. But anyway, I might do some more stories because now I have time to kill. The dirt march continues.
So it's like definitely himself.
You're in the giant octopus.
So yeah, Justinas looks like he's back on form. I suspect he's used to winning these races, isn't he? So he's basically made a bit of a mistake in the Alps, lost a lot of time, lost motivation because he used to be up front, not kind of, I won't say mid-pack. Don't get me wrong, I think he's still probably strong for a top 10 here. But yeah, it looks like he's lost motivation a little bit. But yeah, he seems happy. We get his Instagram post back, which is great. So everyone's a winner, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Justinas goes in the Balkans. It's an area he's already won two races in the Balkans this year, with the Accursed race and the Trans-Balkan race. So he's familiar with the way it works out there. So I think he'll do a good ride, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Justinas gets on. And here's our women's leader, cap number 1, Jana Kessenheimer. She's looking happy, and she's looking pretty fresh actually. These are photos from the TCR, kind of a look at what it's been like riding through southern Italy. And again, she's eating a lot. I think all these riders are eating a lot, and when you've got that time to catch the ferry, it just gives you a chance you rarely get on a ultra race, just to really refuel and recover mid-race. And it'll be interesting to see how that impacts the second half, because sometimes these riders are just absolutely on fumes and hanging on there. But there's a lot of fresher and more fueled up riders. So yeah, going to be exciting. And then this is that photo again, but this is just on the Transcontinental Race. And I think this sort of confirms, how she looks in the photos. So it just says she reached CP4 at a little past 8 o'clock in a wonderful mood. She's clear on her plan for the days ahead and looking forward to riding in the Balkans again. Like many of our followers, she's got swept up in the excitement of dot watching Victor and Martin for the race for the ferry yesterday, enjoying the thrill through her phone screen. So yeah, even the racers do like a bit of dot watching, and maybe they're even listening to this. You never know. By 23:07, Cynthia Carson had arrived, tired, hungry, and still struggling to find a much-needed hotel. With her head in her hands and the exhaustion weighing heavily, she took to scouring the internet to find somewhere to rest. That is also telling. Has Cynthia dug too deep, or certainly deeper than Jana? I guess sometimes it's easier to be leading and be comfortable, and maybe Cynthia's really buried herself to try and catch up. That could again tell as the riders cross over into the Balkans. And there, I think you can just see in the kind of just the expressions there that Jana's probably feeling a lot fresher than Cynthia. Cynthia, bearing in mind she's had all these tyre issues, and the mental state and mental fatigue can also build up in the same way. So that's pretty much everything I've got for you this evening. I'm going to endeavour to do updates. I'm actually travelling to Kyrgyzstan tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, I will have a 5-hour layover in Istanbul airport. So I'm hoping I might be able to bring something to you, depending on internet and time. And I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like, but I'll do my best. And then I should, at the minimum, have another update in Bishkek once I arrive in my hotel before I leave to ride to the start of the Silk Road Mountain Race. So keep an eye out for the updates. I'll do my very best. And see you then.